Tonight feels a lot different, doesn't it? For the first time in living memory, or in fact, most people's even historic memory, one of our major capital cities is in curfew tonight. Now, let me tell you where we're going to go with Paul Murray Live for the next little while. It'll always be the no sooks, no lefties on a Sunday. We'll always fight about the politics that's around. We'll always fire up about the issues that matter. We'll always hold to account the people who matter. Because, of course, as you know, this is the last line of defence for common sense. But to our mates in Victoria, you are about to run yet another marathon. You were a couple of weeks into what you thought was a 6-week marathon. Well, now it has all been reset, and another 6 weeks that's even tougher. Even tougher than the first round that we all went through back in March. We all remember what it was like to see the Prime Minister say that this was closed and that was closed and there's an exemption for this but there's not for that. And we felt that our country was changing before our very eyes. Well, tonight, you know that the reason that the state of Victoria is where it is, why Melbourne is where it is because of the failures of the Andrews government. But I want to make it very clear and draw a very big line tonight that I know that, of course, there is a difference between the good people of Victoria and the government of Victoria. When we say things about the government of Victoria, we talk about the government of Victoria, not the good people of Victoria, not the tough souls of Melbourne, not the people who've been working oh so hard in Geelong, not the people who might run a bed and breakfast in Daylesford, not to mention the pubs that are going to go back into a form of shutdown again right now in Bendigo, let alone the people who need to apply for the chance to go and see family or friends if you live in Wodonga. Not to mention the people in the Mornington Peninsula, where you're counted as Melbourne for the sake of these lockdowns, but you know it ain't Melbourne. There's going to be many, many hard times to come. In fact, I think more people are going to do it tougher this time around than even the past couple of weeks and certainly the time before that. So can I say up front, you need a mate right now. And if you're somebody who lives alone, we'll try and be that mate for you every single night at this time. When the footy games are over, if that's what you're into, make sure you tune into us. If you're somebody who is not able to get the contact with the outside world, we will again continue to try to do that. But I want you to grab a pen and paper. I want you to take some telephone numbers down. Because while you're not going to need these numbers tonight, you might need them in the next little while. For matters to do with depression, there's things like Beyond Blue. For financial stress, emotional stress, there's things like Lifeline. For the kids, there's the Kids Helpline for them to go through specifically with all of this. And parents, as you are yet again forced back into the position where you're going to have to be the teacher as well as the parent, there are numbers for you as well. I'll make sure all of these numbers are up on our Facebook page, but I repeat my promise that we have always had through this, and we've been able to move away from it because lots of other news took over. But when so many million Australians are literally not allowed to leave their house by the time we come on each and every night, we will always try to find the good news story. We will try to find the hope over fear. We will always hold your government to account, but we will always have maximum sympathy and empathy for the people who are going to go through what they're going through. We also think like my mate Mark, who's just been told today, another 6 weeks before he's going to be able to see his kids. He is one of hundreds of people who won't be able to return because he's living outside of Melbourne right now so he can keep earning money for his family. There's going to be tough, terrible times. And the easiest thing for somebody to sit here on television to do is to set their hair on fire and just scream endlessly about the Andrews government. You don't need to hear that. We'll do it when it's required. Remember, every case in Victoria, the entire reason for the lockdown goes back to the decisions of the Victorian government. But the Victorian people suffer, and they suffer tonight. We'll have a chat to a couple of them in a moment or two's time. But also, it's been one of those days where things were changing every few minutes. It was one of those days where we were hearing something every different hour, and there's a chance that you've only heard part of what was happening today. So I just want to take you through some of the key things that were said, and I want to tell you what is open and not open from now. First, the Premier, Daniel Andrews, about stage 4. This is what they went through in New Zealand a few weeks ago.
These are tough choices, but they are the decisions that I've taken because they're the decisions that will keep us safe and get us past this. These are big steps, but they are necessary. We have got to limit the amount of movement, therefore limiting the amount of transmission of this virus. We've got to clamp down on this and get to the point where we have much lower numbers as quickly as we possibly can.
Now, there must be accountability. There will be accountability for the government and its failures about quarantine. There also should be some accountability for a bloke who seemingly has been completely let off by the media. How many times can his advice to government be wrong? But here is the Chief Medical Officer in Victoria saying that a big part of this is to scare the people of Victoria.
In part, there's some shock and awe here for people to genuinely understand that it's a super challenging phase that we're in. We knew that it would be harder. We knew that it wasn't like the first wave, but in part that's because the fatigue that people have experienced and the sense of complacency.
The Prime Minister has said that he offers full support to Victoria. I'm also very pleased to say that anyone who is currently unemployed or will be made unemployed as a result of this, you will be able to get a job seeker, but you won't have the mutual obligation factors, which means you're not going to have to go and apply for the same sorts of jobs that you would in New South Wales or Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania or WA that don't have the same problems right now. So if you are somebody who is about to lose their job as a result of this, the social safety net that we are so proud of in this country will be there. You also have the full backing of the Health Department and Greg Hunt, who we'll talk to many times over the next 6 weeks.
We recognise that the further measures announced by the Premier are regrettably necessary. Regrettably necessary. In particular, we support them with a heavy heart, but we do so because they will help save and protect lives in Victoria.
So let's pull together all of the information. That's what I can do for you every night, just before you go to bed, to know what is about to be happening in the next 24 hours, okay? As I say, the easiest thing in the world here is to just scream constantly about the government. That doesn't help. What does help is you knowing what you can and can't do. Now, effectively, you should assume that everything is closed right across Victoria. There are a couple of exceptions here or there, but I wanted to make this very clear to you tonight about what the rules are. From now until the 13th of September, 6 weeks away, you've got to stay at home unless you are going to try to buy necessary goods or services, whether you need medical care or you're going for compassionate reasons, whether you need to exercise, and there are rules about that where basically you can only go by yourself and you can only do it for 1 hour a day. And if you're going to go shopping, well, you can only shop for food and necessary supplies. The government is asking that only one person per household does that on any one day. Again, until Sunday, the 13th of September, you're not allowed to have anyone over to your house. No visitors at all. If you do meet someone and you do it outside during that 1 hour of exercise, you can only have a maximum of 2 people, and that includes a member of your household. So if it's you and a flatmate, that's the limit. If it's you and somebody else, but they have to be within a 5K radius of each other, now again, I'm not here to argue these rules. We can do that as the weeks roll on, but these are the rules, and that's what I'm just trying to explain to you tonight. The curfew, and this is the big change, is that you're not allowed out between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. every night. Unbelievable, I know. But you can go if you're going to and from work, to and from medical care, to and from caregiving, like our mate who's giving care to his dad up in Geelong, or intimate relationships. Put simply, for, say, non-de factos but long-term relationships, you'll be able to, frankly, spend the night at somebody else's house, but you're not going to be able to do so just to go over and watch movies and hang out with people. School, big changes here too. Tomorrow, go to school as normal, but then there's going to be a scenario where pupil-free day on Tuesday, and then it's all online from Wednesday. As for work, they want you to work from home. Now, obviously, there are some industries where this won't be able to happen. Premier will make more detailed announcements on that tomorrow. So again, schools essentially closed. Tomorrow they're open, but essentially closed. The essential workers, as always, get the exemption. Childcare is also done unless, of course, you are an essential worker. Now, that will be defined again in the next couple of days, but assume everything's closed. Okay. Sunday, the 13th of September, exercise. You can only do it within 5 k's of your house. You can only do it for 1 hour a day. I know it's crazy. It's unfair. It feels like you're in some sort of home detention despite the fact you didn't do anything wrong. The government did something wrong. But that means when it comes to community sport, closed. Indoor sport and recreation, closed. Outdoor sport, that again is exercise with only one other person at any one time. I don't know right now what the rules are around personal training. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Fishing, golf, boating, tennis, surfing and golf driving range, all banned, all closed. Swimming pools, play centres and playgrounds are also closed. And I know that's really hard when you're about to be spending so much time inside with the kids. The ability to go and have a slide, go and put them on the swing. Sadly, that's not happening until September 13, 6 weeks away. We'll talk to a couple of businesses that get smashed by this, but restaurants back to full takeaway, no one's allowed to sit in. Same with cafes. Pubs, they are closed. A bottle shop or takeaway services are the only thing they can do. Also, until the 13th of September, hairdressers will remain open. However, things like auctions for whatever, all online, real estate inspections, those are going to be by appointment. Shopping centres, look, they are going to be open, but they're going to limit the number of people allowed in a shopping centre, and they'll probably limit the types of shops which are going to be available. So again, lots of businesses affected by this, lots of workers who just will not make it through the next little while. These are just terrible details to give you tonight, but I just wanted to calmly tell you what's going on. When it comes to your faith and how you can practice it, religious ceremonies and private worship will happen, 5 people max, that's it. That's the same for the church, the mosque, the synagogue, the prayer hall. The rest of it will all have to be done online. Weddings are banned from Wednesday across the entire state of Victoria. Funerals, 10 people maximum. The rest of it you'll have to sit and watch online. Now, another thing, if you're thinking about a little workaround, we might jump in the car and go for a drive. Well, you're not allowed to travel in a car with somebody who is outside your home. So, again, for only those purposes of shopping and work and medical care and all the rest of it, that's the reason you can be a passenger in somebody's car, but you have to live in the same house as them. Other than that, you just can't get around, okay? I'm sorry. Camping and holiday houses and visiting those, banned. Again, until the 13th of September. This is where I've got some problems, but in regional areas, you're about to be basically hit with all of the rules of Melbourne. Now, just keep that graphic up for a second. Now, they've changed the colour on us, and I think they've done that deliberately for messaging reasons. But basically, where you see the grey, there's never been the virus. Where you see the very light purple, that's where there's been some cases. But there are 31 of 79 councils in all of Victoria that have had less than 10 cases of coronavirus for the entire time of this thing. There are 7 council areas that have just had 1 case, 7 that have just had 2. There are the best part of 10 that have had 3, 4, 5 or 6 cases, and then 4 that have had between 6 and 10 cases. This is a really big issue because 39% of the state is going to be in the same lockdown without the curfew as Melbourne, and you will have a couple of exemptions here where childcare will stay open. You do get the opportunity to fish, golf, jump in the boat, play some tennis or surfing, but camping, really important, camping is banned in regional Victoria. Now, the difference between what's happening in the city and regional areas is perhaps the most unfair part of what is happening right now, but the way that the public health officials have put this in place is essentially to consider it a giant moat between Melbourne and the rest of the country. Now, that is very tough, particularly if you are one of those many businesses that we've spoken to in regional Victoria who've done nothing wrong in areas that have had virtually no virus, yet still you're going to have to do this for the next 6 weeks. Now, I repeat, over the next few weeks, we're not going to be wall-to-wall just about virus in Melbourne, but whenever we talk about virus in Victoria, we'll give you the information rather than argue the toss of what happened during the day. As we get closer to the end of that 6 weeks, we'll start to fire up again about when things get to loosen up or otherwise. But I repeat, the entire reason why this is happening is because the government screwed up. Because the government screwed up when it came to hotel quarantine. It's not my words. It's not a right-wing talking point. It's not some red meat that I'm throwing out on television. It was what was told to the inquiry into hotel quarantine. The council assisting said it. Every case in Victoria goes back to the genesis of what happened with those guards fooling around with the people who were there. There must be accountability for that. A report will drop in September, so in and around this finalised period of time. So there'll be plenty of time to hold those people to account and have to blame. But till then, We'll work things through. Can we show those telephone numbers that I had up at the start again? Because I know they moved through pretty quickly for you. So again, health's going to matter here. Your mental health's going to really matter here, okay? So write down the number for Beyond Blue, 1300 22 246 there. Lifeline, 24/7, they're there for you, okay? Now remember, you might not need these numbers, but you might know someone in the next couple of weeks who is going to need these numbers. And let's not do all that bullshit about, all in this together. I get how empty all of that is. But right now, we all need a mate. And you need a mate, particularly if you're in Victoria. We'll try and be the mate for you on the telly, but you need to reach out to people, support, lots of different support, and we'll talk to people from all of these services in the next little while. We're also going to bring back on this program the good, the bad, the ugly of the day in the virus. Sadly, Victoria's going to fill up 2 of these cases an awful lot, but there are 3 examples of good, bad and ugly that happened today before we talk to a couple of Victorians that have been screwed over by their government, by their government's mishandling of this thing. Never forget it.